From the very first whistle, Paris Saint-Germain turned the stadium into a tactical maze, where every Arsenal movement seemed to have been anticipated. If Bukayo Saka had not fired over the bar in the 80th minute, perhaps the story would have been different. But the reality is, with only 10 minutes left and a 2-goal gap, Arsenal's chances of a comeback were close to zero. Paris Saint-Germain did not need a special formation to dominate this match. Luis Enrique did not make many tactical changes, but the fluid switching between a 4-3-3 and a 4-1-4-1 formation created immense pressure on Arsenal's lineup. The duo of Thomas Partey and Declan Rice, expected to control the midfield, were completely suffocated by the mobility of João Neves and in the 27th minute, Fabian Ruiz broke the deadlock with a precise strike. It was not a moment of improvisation, but the result of a carefully calculated sequence of pressing and transitions. What was even more impressive was how Paris Saint-Germain reacted after scoring the opening goal. They did not surge forward in search of more goals. Instead, they immediately dropped into a low block, waiting for Arsenal to make mistakes as they pushed for an equalizer. In the 72nd minute, Achraf Hakimi sealed the match with a perfectly placed low shot, nearly guaranteeing their spot in the Champions League final. It was a textbook counterattack, executed with precision in both positioning and timing. Luis Enrique did not need to say much after the match, but one of his post-match comments has since become a symbol of Paris Saint-Germain's approach. "We came here to control every corner of the pitch," and they truly did. Despite Arsenal controlling 54% of possession and creating more chances, they were essentially playing within the space Paris Saint-Germain allowed them. The 2-1 victory was not a surprise. It was the outcome of a meticulously constructed plan, where Paris Saint-Germain operated like a machine, pre-programmed for this exact scenario. In this tactical chess match, Arsenal was simply being maneuvered. From the moment the first whistle blew, Paris Saint-Germain stepped onto the pitch with a clear goal: to completely control the match and dominate Arsenal's tactical setup. Arsenal's midfield trio of Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, and Martin Odegaard, expected to be the backbone of the team, were completely dismantled. Luis Enrique deployed a midfield of João Neves, Vitinha, and Fabian Ruiz, familiar names, but ones not restricted to fixed roles. In the first 30 minutes, Paris Saint-Germain's 4-3-3 formation repeatedly shifted into a 4-1-4-1 when out of possession, with Neves dropping deeper while Ruiz and Vitinha pressed high. Every time Partey received the ball, he found himself trapped between two Paris players, completely cut off from his forward options. The result was a series of disrupted Arsenal attacks, forcing them into long balls toward Gabriel Martinelli, who had to fend for himself against the relentless marking of Achraf Hakimi. In those first 30 minutes, Paris Saint-Germain pressed with a compact high block, compressing Arsenal into errors, much like a tightly wound spring ready to snap back with a counterattack. In the 27th minute, Fabian Ruiz capitalized on a loose ball outside the penalty area, firing a precise shot to open the scoring. This was not a goal born of chance, but the product of a well-rehearsed pressing sequence perfectly executed. After this, Paris Saint-Germain did not continue to push forward recklessly. Instead, they withdrew into a lower block, ceding possession to Arsenal, but maintaining tight spacing between their lines. Then came the 72nd minute, the moment Paris Saint-Germain had been waiting for. Hakimi, always alert and ready to strike, unleashed a low, decisive shot to finish off the match, capping off a counterattack straight out of a tactics manual. This was the difference between a team with a clear plan and one simply reacting to the flow of the game. Paris Saint-Germain did not need to score many goals. They just needed the right player at the right time with the right shot, and they executed it perfectly. Luis Enrique did not need to say much after the match, but one comment captured the essence of his team's approach. "We did not just come here to play football. We came to control every inch of the pitch." And that is exactly what they did. When Hakimi scored, there were no wild celebrations. The players knew that the goal was coming, that it was the inevitable result of a meticulously crafted plan. In the first leg, when João Neves and Vitinha dominated the midfield battle against Arsenal, many believed that Thomas Partey's absence was the primary reason for the Gunners' struggles. But even with Partey back in the lineup, the story remained the same. It was still Neves and Vitinha dictating the tempo, not through sheer physicality, but with superior intelligence and reading of the game. Neves played like a complete midfielder, cutting off passing lanes between Partey and Declan Rice, shutting down every attempt to build from the back. Meanwhile, Vitinha operated with remarkable flexibility, pressing high when needed and controlling the tempo during transitions. And what about Arsenal? Their midfield was stretched thin. Martin Odegaard struggled to link up with Partey and Rice, one drifting wide, the other dropping deep, resulting in a disjointed midfield that never found its rhythm. The outcome was predictable. Bukayo Saka was isolated, Gabriel Martinelli faded as the match wore on, and nearly every Arsenal attack broke down in midfield. The data does not lie. Arsenal had more possession, more shots, and more chances, but when their midfield was cut off and reduced to hopeful long balls, those statistics meant little. Their expected goals number reached as high as 3.2, but without the composure to finish chances, those numbers were just empty figures. At Parc des Princes, Paris Saint-Germain suffocated the heart of Arsenal's midfield with a nearly flawless display of coordinated pressing and tactical discipline. Before the second leg, many believed that the return of Thomas Partey would restore balance to Arsenal's midfield, but the harsh reality was that Neves and Vitinha dismantled that plan, turning what should have been a strength into a glaring weakness. João Neves, in particular, delivered a performance that would have made any coach proud, not through brute strength, but through sharp positioning and exceptional reading of the game. While Vitinha roamed freely, pressing high and maintaining attacking tempo, Arsenal's midfield trio found themselves disconnected and disorganized. The result was clear: a 2-1 victory that sent Paris Saint-Germain to the Champions League final, while Arsenal was left to wonder how their supposed backbone had been broken so easily. In reality, Neves and Vitinha shattered the structure that was supposed to be Arsenal's backbone, turning what should have been a strong system into a fragmented collection of disconnected parts. João Neves delivered a performance that would make any coach proud. In this season's Champions League, Neves has made up to 756 pressure attempts, the most in Europe, along with 51 successful tackles, the highest figure since Arturo Vidal in the 2014-2015 season. In the match against Arsenal, Neves continued to be the focal point in breaking the opponent's midfield structure. He pressed directly against Martin Odegaard every time the Norwegian attempted to link up with Partey and Rice. Neves also maintained the perfect distance from center-backs Marquinhos and Milan Skriniar, ensuring his side's defensive shape remained intact. This fragmented Arsenal's midfield, isolating Odegaard and preventing him from influencing the game. Declan Rice found himself dropping too deep to support the defense, while Thomas Partey had to drift wide to cover for his teammates, meaning this trio rarely connected in the build-up. Arsenal's 4-2-3-1 formation was stretched by Paris Saint-Germain's relentless pressing, breaking the triangles in the center of the pitch. As a result, Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli rarely received clean passes from midfield. They were forced to drop deep to collect the ball or attempt solo runs through the crowded center, increasing the risk of losing possession. Ironically, Arsenal did not play poorly from a statistical perspective. They held 54.4% of the possession, took 19 shots, and created 13 chances. Their expected goals figure was as high as 3.2, a promising number if you only look at the numbers on paper. Martin Odegaard, regarded as the team's leader on the pitch, maintained his pressing intensity, but only managed to create a handful of genuine scoring opportunities. Paris Saint-Germain did not need to dominate possession to control the match. They simply needed to suffocate Arsenal's midfield. Once they cut off the heartbeat of the Gunners, the rest of the team could only struggle in vain. That is the difference between a team that has reached the final and one still searching for its identity in the biggest matches. Paris Saint-Germain did not need to take many shots, but they knew how to score when it mattered. Arsenal created 13 chances but only converted one. Paris Saint-Germain, with just a few clear opportunities, found the net twice. The difference was in quality, not quantity. Achraf Hakimi did not need to dribble past his man 20 times to make an impact. He only needed one precise moment to change the course of the match. Bukayo Saka's missed chance in the 80th minute perfectly symbolized the gap between the two sides. The goal was there for the taking, but a lack of composure cost Arsenal dearly. This is no longer the Paris Saint-Germain of the years when they relied on the unpredictability of Kylian Mbappe. This is a Luis Enrique team, a tactical machine programmed to perfection, from each pass to every press, even down to their controlled celebrations. When Hakimi scored, no one in Paris Saint-Germain's ranks celebrated wildly. They knew the goal was coming, a product of their pre-planned execution. Statistics do not lie, but they cannot fully capture the story on the pitch. Arsenal left the field with a higher expected goals number, more shots, and superior possession, yet it is Paris Saint-Germain that will play in the Champions League final. Look at the numbers. Arsenal took 19 shots, nearly double the 11 attempts of Paris Saint-Germain. Their expected goals figure reached 3.2 compared to Paris Saint-Germain's 1.7. On paper, it seems like a dominant performance, but Champions League semi-finals are not won on paper. Arsenal had to wait until the final minutes to score, while Paris Saint-Germain only needed 2 carefully executed sequences to decide the tie. Arsenal's problem was their lack of composure in decisive moments. No image captures this better than Bukayo Saka's missed golden opportunity in the 80th minute. With the goal wide open, the number 7 for Arsenal sent the ball over the bar. On the same night, Achraf Hakimi emerged as the match's standout performer with a decisive impact, 3 shots, 1 goal, and numerous critical interceptions. He was not the player who ran the most, nor the one who touched the ball the most, but every time he was involved, he posed a real threat. There was a painful detail circulating among Arsenal fans on social media. If Saka had scored in the 80th minute, the match could have taken a different turn. But as is often the case in football, when you fail to capitalize on your chances, your opponent will make you pay. Paris Saint-Germain no longer relies on the chaos of individual brilliance. They have learned to strip the emotion from their game, reducing it to precise, calculated movements from each passing sequence to every decisive strike. They do not need emotion to score. They need the right player in the right place at the right time. After the match, Mikel Arteta summed it up perfectly. "We did everything we could, but Paris Saint-Germain knows how to punish mistakes." A simple but accurate statement. Paris Saint-Germain did not need to outwork Arsenal, nor did they need to control more possession. They simply needed to exploit decisive moments. Arsenal fell short because they lacked the cold-blooded precision required at this level, while Paris Saint-Germain never needed to rush. Sometimes, effort alone is not enough when your opponent knows exactly what they want and how to take it with chilling precision. Arsenal remains a work in progress. They are not weak, but at the Champions League level, playing well and looking good are never enough. It takes the right timing, the right player, and the right strike, and Paris Saint-Germain executed all of these perfectly. They did not need a legendary moment, just careful calculation.